And now, life, lessons, and laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose of Life Enhancement Services of Rhode Island.
Hello, this is Glenn again. And we are recording our next podcast. Now, this time, one of our previous podcasts, I got some input about the 3-step process to solving any problem. So what I decided to do was go into detail on that process and spend a little time going over it in each part of it, because it's a very important part. It's a very important tool, I should say, that you can implement in any area of your life. So basically, the 3-part process is 1, identify the problem, 2, find the solution, and 3, implement that solution. So that's it. Thanks. That's the end of the podcast.
That was a short one.
Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck.
I wasn't listening. What were they? Can we go over them again?
You missed it?
Rewind
the podcast. It's the whole podcast.
I don't have it yet. We're in the middle of recording.
I'll go through them in a little bit more detail, I guess. So it's identify the problem. So first you want to get clear on exactly what the problem is. Often it's different than what it looks like on the surface. So a lot of times we're looking at a problem and it's actually just a symptom of the problem. If the problem is I can't get to the gym, well, are you motivated to get to the gym? Are you willing to do what it takes to get to the gym?
No.
Well, there you go.
Probably not.
Right. But that's what it is. You need to be honest with yourself. And that's what you need to do. That's how you get your true answer. So is being honest with yourself. And one way to do that is just getting quiet with yourself and asking the question over and over. Often what I'll do is I'll put my hand right over my heart and just quiet and just ask the question, what is the problem here? What's the problem? And I'll ask it over and over and just listen after each time. So, why can't I get to the gym? Really, why can't I get to the gym?
Right.
Really, 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 why can I not get to the gym? And if you just listen after each one and just be really quiet and listen, the answer will come up. And like I said, oftentimes it's not what you think it is. It's a little bit deeper than that. The other way you can get to identify the problem is talking with somebody. It's hard to see our own stuff. We got all our emotions, all our excuses clouding it. So getting an outside perspective is very important. You can go to a life coach. That's one thing that I do with a lot of my clients. And as a life coach, I'm confident that I'm very good at it. But quite honestly, everybody is good at seeing things from another perspective because they don't have all that emotional baggage around it. So, obviously you want to select somebody that you trust, somebody that has an outlook on life that you want. Don't go to somebody that's trashing their life and all depressed all the time and ask them how, for advice on how to fix yours. Go to somebody that has what you want, has a lifestyle or an outlook that you respect and you'd like to emulate, and go to them and ask them. You can also ask several people, because there are different perspectives. So if you ask, 3 different people or 4 different people and the majority says one thing, then that's a good chance that that's the answer, So talk it out with somebody and get that outside perspective. So that's really the first part is getting clear on what the problem is, because otherwise you're just putting Band-Aids on like pseudo problems and never really getting to it.
Do you think that if you can't identify what the problem is, what the actual root problem is, that you're just not being honest enough with yourself?
Most times, yes. But that it could just be that you're not capable of that type of honesty yet. You know, I mean, if running around in our busy world has its drawbacks. We are very habitual people. We fall into habits very easily. We live our lives very habitually, and most of our lives is just go, 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 and we don't slow down and learn to be honest with ourselves. You know, most of us are cash register honest. You know, we don't run around stealing things. So then we say, oh, I'm honest. And it's like, well, not with yourself, though, you know. And if you're not truly honest with yourself, then you're not truly being honest with others. Now, that's not necessarily, it's not conscious, so it's not something to beat yourself up over. It's just something we need to work on. So sometimes it takes some effort to be honest with yourself. You need to learn how to slow down and really ask yourself and do what I call a gut check. Just go way deep down inside your gut and find out what's really the truth, how you really feel about things. So yeah, it's most of the time it's that we're not being honest with ourselves, but it's not necessarily because it's intentional. Most times it's not. We just plain don't know how to be honest with ourselves. We're too busy going 90 miles an hour, you know.
How do you know that a feeling is an honest feeling and not something that is perpetuated by the emotional baggage around it? Like, for example, you know, when you get angry with someone, like a friend, for example, if you're having an argument with a close friend or a relative, and things are said, you know, and then it's always the like, oh, I didn't really mean that, you know, like, how do you know which one, or, you know, when people get intoxicated a lot of times and you know.
That does happen in the world.
It does. But that idea that, like, you know, people call alcohol truth serum, you know.
Yeah.
Like, but what is the honest feel? Like, is that, you know, they're feeling good because they're drunk, or so their truth at that moment is a lot nicer, or they're feeling angry because they're in the middle of a fight, so their truth is more negative? Like, how do you know that the feeling that you're feeling is an honest feeling?
Well, you know, I think the intoxicated aspect is a decent way to come at it, because that's a good example of what isn't true but comes across as true. You know, so when you're intoxicated, drinking lowers your inhibitions, so things can come out easier. So we're like, oh, well, that must be the truth because my inhibitions are lower, and then these things just stop pouring out of me. You know, so that must be how I truly feel. But all it is you're lowering your inhibitions, so emotions and things that are buried and, like you said, baggage that's all attached to that is coming flying out with it, completely uncontrolled. So without clarity, without being able to get in touch with true feelings, and it confuses it. And usually it comes out a lot more crass and painful than it needs to when people are drinking. You know, and it's very similar to brutal honesty. I take my honesty very seriously with myself and with others. And I had to learn new ways of dealing with things when I decided I wasn't going to lie about anything anymore. Not even white lies. I was not going to permit myself to do that. And it's been years. And when I first started doing that, it's like I knew that brutal honesty was just painful. It just hurt people. and it wasn't necessary. So I found a way, I paused and took time and found out what my real truth was, what I was really feeling. And generally, if anger is flying out of me, that's not my truth. That's my fear. Anger is based out of fear. So I need to get at the root of my fear and address that. That's the real truth. So if you're flying out of anger at somebody, that's not the actual truth of the situation. You're angry because there's a certain part of you that is that is threatening to you, that you don't like. And that's what pushes up the anger and comes flying out of you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good with truth. I'm good with the truth and the finding the actual root of the problem and being honest. So what's the second thing that I need to do to solve this problem?
Okay. Problem solving part 2.
I didn't know you were bilingual.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot about me you don't know. Find the solution. That's the second part. Again, an outside perspective is very important. A lot of times we can't see the forest through the trees, So one of my favorite quotes of Einstein says, we can't solve problems by using the same the same kind of thinking we use to create them. So we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. That's very important, because basically our thinking, where we're coming from, our perspective is based on, I like to say it's based on 2 things: our experiences mixed with our personality. So, 2 people can experience the exact same situation and internalize it differently, depending on their level of sensitivity. So if that starts when we are babies, and, little Sally steals your blue crayon, and that actually severely bothers you because you feel that crayon is part of you at 2 years old, and she just took a part of you, and you internalize that's a building block of who you become later on. So this is, our entire life builds on top of each other and forms our decision-making techniques and our perspective. So if you're looking at your life from your perspectives, especially if you haven't gotten that good at being honest with yourself yet, it's hard to find the truth. So it's hard to find a solution. I mean, we don't get ourselves into trouble on purpose. We just don't. We don't screw up our lives because we want to. Everybody gets up and does the best that they can. And then all of a sudden they find out that they're in a situation that they don't want to be in. So they've gotten there by doing the best that they can. So it's time to look at things from another perspective and find out what that solution is. So, I mean, sometimes if it's the simpler things, we can figure it out ourselves. But a lot of times we need to get that outside perspective, or at least talk it out with somebody.
Yeah.
Keeping it inside of our heads is the worst thing we can do, because things are different inside of our heads. They're just different. I mean, I can't count how many times that I'm thinking about things and I'm like, okay, well, I need to do this to straighten out the situation. And then I go talk to somebody about it, and the words are coming out of my mouth, and I'm going, what was I thinking? There's no way. I mean, it doesn't even make sense coming out of my mouth,
right.
And that's, so when there's something that happens when our thoughts come out into the open, into air. When they hit air, it's like blood hitting air. Isn't blood like blue in our system? Then when it hits air, it's like red.
The oxygen turns to red.
It's like that. It's like when when our words come out, our thoughts come out of our mouth. All of a sudden, they hit reality, and it's like, what the heck? That doesn't make sense. And if we are still buying it, at least we've got somebody there to look at us. Hopefully somebody we trust that goes, yeah, you're off, dude. You got to think of this in a different way.
Do you think this is kind of a little off topic, but let's go on a tangent for a second.
A tangent?
Yeah.
I never do those.
Do you think that the level of technology with emails, instant messaging, and text messaging has do you think that gives people a lot more of an opportunity to spit out this stuff that is not truth and not like that they wouldn't say if they could say it out loud and hear how stupid it sounds or how mean it sounds or how wrong what they were thinking was, because they're not verbalizing it anymore. They're not actually like saying it. So, or do you think that the writing, the typing it out or the writing it takes care of that?
Well, I think it's, to me, technology is like everything else. It can be used in a good way and it can be used in a bad way. It's like it makes me laugh when I think of it. It's like, when people say guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, it's like technology isn't bad. People who use it bad are. It's the same thing. So if you're using technology and you're pissed about something and you just type something out and hit send, that's, the person isn't right in front of you. There's less consequence. It's instant. So it can be dangerous.
Yeah.
It can definitely enhance the danger aspect of it. But I mean, oftentimes if there's a sensitive subject, one thing that I do is I'll type out the email answer and then I save it in my drafts. No matter how right I know that I am, I save it in drafts and reread it the next day.
And how often are you wrong with how right you were?
Every time. I don't think that I've ever sent something exactly the way I wrote it. Now I might keep the same idea and just tweak it a little.
Yeah.
Or I might completely delete it and start fresh. That varies, but I don't think I've ever sent something exactly the way I typed it when I was upset. And that's a big part of it, is not reacting when we're upset. It's that instant reaction that gets us into trouble. If we can just pause for a moment, and honestly, that's something that I might even do a whole show on is pausing before we react. But we're very reactionary in this life, and we react to situations instead of. And if we react to a situation, then the situation has control over us.
Yeah.
I
try my best to always use caution when reacting to a situation and to never be hasty with it and to be quick to get into an argument about something like that. Obviously I do it from time to time, but I've just seen really negative consequences to that from people around me. Right. Of that just used it's hey, something ticked me off. I have Facebook. I'm gonna write a gigantic status on Facebook, and now I just blew up the problem.
Right.
But taking that time is good, because every problem, to have a good solution, has 3 steps, and you're kind of not giving yourself time to do those 3 steps when you're reacting so instantaneously like that. That being said, what is the 3rd step?
The 3rd. Dun, dun, dun.
I'm literally on the edge of my seat.
Wow. Wait, I'm going to scoot up. Okay, now I'm on the edge of mine.
There we
go. Implementing the solution. That's not comfortable. All right.
No, and sometimes implementing a solution isn't comfortable.
Wow, see that?
Yeah.
Wow. That's just divine guidance right there.
This isn't called Life Lessons and Laughter for nothing.
It's not. That's it. So, moving on. Implementing the solution. That's the 3rd step. So this is often the most difficult one. You need to be accountable for taking the action and working through that process. one thing, and I forgot where I ran across this, but I ran across this American Society for Training and Development. And it says that you increase your chances of weight loss success from 10 to 95% simply by being accountable to someone willing to encourage and support your efforts. That's it. Just accountability, you know? So if accountability is this effective in weight loss, how important of a piece of the puzzle is it? You know, you're increasing your chances dramatically by being accountable. So that's another, you know, when you're saying you're implementing the solution, if you have somebody there to be accountable to, because, you know, what we do is taking action is a pain, man. It's just a pain. I don't wanna, you know? So if you have somebody to be accountable, then you'll actually take those steps and implement the solution. So it's, you know, that's one part of it. It's if you're hungry, you can drive to the store, you can pick out food, you can pay for it, load it in your car, drive home, cook it properly, plate the food, and eat it. Right? Now, if you miss one of those steps, the whole plan can fall apart. You know, so you need to be clear on what you need to do. You need to get clear on that solution, step 2, and you need to follow every step. You know, and obviously, when I'm giving examples like this is big stuff. This is real big issues that you have with your life that you need to straighten out, that have multiple steps towards them. You know, there's a lot more simplified version of things for smaller daily issues. You know, I don't think that you're going to, you know, if your problem is that you're always eating junk food at home, and the solution is to think ahead and have healthy food in your home, and then to implement that solution, you need to go out and to the grocery store with a list and purchase the things and bring them home. That's pretty straightforward. You know, there's not 20 steps that you need to go over, but you do need to make sure that you implement the solution.
You know, I think that the thing that you said about accountability, because I've been thinking about that since you said it, was that accountability can be to a host of different people or different things, you know. And obviously, you know, some people work better at work if they have accountability to their boss. Mm-hmm. Or I think that a big one that I've heard a lot of people say over the years is when they have kids. They never treated themselves as well. They never did things the way that they were supposed to until, oh, crap, I'm going to be a father, or, oh, I'm going to be a mother. You know, now, hey, I'm going to stop drinking, or, hey, I'm going to actually, you know, go bust my tail at work.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, that really is a powerful motivator, or, you know, that's one of the main reasons why having a personal trainer is so important for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it really helps in all aspects of your life to have somebody to be accountable to. Because if you're just accountable to yourself, then there's a lot more of a chance that when you go to implement the solution, you're gonna, you know, fall short of it or give up because there's less riding on it.
Right.
You know, if my solution is to eat better and I'm just doing it for myself, then what's to stop me from doing anything wrong? You know,
yeah.
There's and obviously there's a lot of self-love and stuff, and being accountable to yourself is a huge thing that people should strive for.
Right.
But it's definitely, I think that it's definitely a lot easier to implement a solution when you're accountable to someone else.
Yeah, and it's true. There is that aspect of self-love, but if you've done enough of the internal work where you are just filled with self-love and you just, well, I mean, that's huge. So, I mean, if you've done that work, you've probably found ways to do some of this stuff already. The average person hasn't done that much work. So it is, I've told my clients for, I think, 20 years ago, I started telling my clients when I used to have to sell personal training at gyms that I worked at in the beginning. One of the things that I used to tell people is you'll keep an appointment with me before you'll keep one with yourself. And it's true. If you have somebody to be accountable to, you're going to get there. If you're just being accountable to yourself, a lot of times you'll just be like, I'll do it tomorrow, or I don't feel like it. And you just blow yourself off.
I miss appointments with myself every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I don't think it's very easy for me to keep an appointment with you to go to the gym and work out. It's not so easy for me on the off days with you to schedule a time in my head that I'm going to go and then meet that time.
Right. And that's a lot of it is the, it goes back to the self-love we talked about. It goes back to the honesty, learning to be honest with yourself that we talked about. One aspect about being honest and loving yourself is respecting yourself and having truth in your word. If you give your word to somebody, we take that usually pretty seriously, but we break our word to ourselves all the time. So if we're really going to be honest with ourselves, start with ourselves. I'm going to the gym tomorrow at this time. I promise myself that I'm going to do that. That's a very self-loving thing to do, and if you take that seriously, your self-esteem is going to start rising because you're giving yourself your word and you're holding it. You respect yourself enough to do what you say you're going to do. That's huge, and if you are using somebody for the accountability aspect of it, a lot of times people sit around going, I should be able to do this on my own. I should, how many people are sitting on the couch watching The Biggest Loser and eating a box of cookies going, I shouldn't need to hire a trainer. I should be able to go to the gym on my own. I should be able to do that. And then 10 years later, they're still on the same couch going, trainers are a waste of money. I should be able to they should themselves into staying where they are. Don't worry about what you should do or what you shouldn't do, what you should be capable of or what you shouldn't be capable of. Just do what it takes to get the action implemented. Yeah. So if it takes hiring a trainer to get your butt to the gym, hire a trainer and get your butt to the gym. Don't sit there telling yourself that I shouldn't have to do that because maybe other people don't need to. That's just another tactic we do to keep ourselves stuck. Reach out and get that accountability, from somebody else out there.
So to sum up the 3 steps to solve any problem, they were, let's see if I remember these from this conversation. 1, identify the problem. Be honest with yourself.
Right.
2, identify a solution.
Yes.
3, implement the solution.
Right. That's it.
That's it. Those are the 3.
Right. And, we talked a lot about accountability to outside sources. If there are certain things that you can try to be accountable to yourself on, you can start weaving that into your life. So, I use my calendar for everything. I'm a personal trainer, and on my calendar, I have my workout times. And I'm already at the gym. But I still put it in there to remind myself because there are days when I didn't have it in there. There were days where I'd be like, I'd finish up with some clients. I'd be like, oh, I got to run here and do this errand. I got to do this. I got to, and I'd just be off. All of a sudden, I realized that I missed some workouts. So I take the steps necessary to hold myself accountable to myself, and a calendar is a great way to use that. Some people are like, oh, I can't, then I have to remember to put things in the calendar, or then I have to remember to look at the calendar. Well, develop the habit.
Yeah.
At least I have to look at my calendar, or I have alerts going off all the time on my phone. But at least that's one central spot that I can find that all the different things that I'm accountable for, and I make sure I hit them all.
So today I asked most of the questions, but normally on the show we have a spot where we answer questions that listeners send in, and why don't we end with you letting people know where they can send those questions to?
Okay. As far as the questions, you can send them to my website. It's probably the best place. It's life-enhancement-services.com. You can message me through there, and also my Facebook page, Life Enhancement Services. Those are probably the two best places that you can reach me at. And that's it for the recap, the detailed recap of the 3-step process. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you again real soon.
This podcast is presented by Life Enhancement Services of Rhode Island with New Shore Productions. For more information on Glenn Ambrose and his work, visit life-enhancement-services.com.